Hi Crown Rebellion, it's Jamie. I'm here with Meghan Warner. She is an aspiring writer, and actually she is a writer, and this is her story. So Meghan, you're originally from New York. How did you end up in Hollywood?
I decided to go to film school, and I decided to, like, when I was 18, I just finally decided, all right, I'm going to California. I would just tell her, like, I made that decision. I told her, like, yeah, I'm going to go to California. Like, everyone's like, oh, where do you go? And like, I don't know. I'm going to California. So I worked my butt off while going to community college, and I, like, worked all the time. Just put away $10,000, and so, like, all right, I'm going to film school. And so I went to LA Film School, and I drove 3,000 miles in a car, and here I am.
And how do you feel Hollywood's evolved you as a writer as opposed to being at home in New York?
The thing is, I've been out here for 5 years, and the thing is, I came out here with nobody. I knew absolutely nobody. So it's like completely starting over. Like, I have no family, I had no friends. All the friends out here I made while I was out here, and it's one of those things, like, I am an incredibly shy person, but you talk to me now and you wouldn't know that I'm shy. I mean, you might, but still, you know. But it's all these different experiences. Like, I appreciate where I came from, a small little town, like, that's, like, was, you know, one street long, basically. I appreciate coming from that, and, like, all the majority of my stories are all taking place in small towns. But then I come out here, and this is the big city. And, like, when I initially got out here, I was like, oh my god, where are the white people at? You know, and I do all these new adventures, and I'm meeting, like, all these, like, weird new people, and I love it. And, you know, just these adventures that I go on that I would never be able to go on in New York, where I'm from in New York. It's like everything is an experience. Every person I talk to, like, you tell me a funny story, 15 years from now you're gonna be reading one of my stories and be like, hey, it's my story. So
if you had the chance to do it all over again, would you?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
And have you always known you wanted to be a writer?
This is one of my favorite stories to tell. I'm gonna say yes, because there was two stories that I don't know which one came first, but in second grade we were supposed to write a story for class. Like, it was supposed to be a book. We were supposed to, like, illustrate it and write the story with it. I was so excited to do this. Like, I worked so hard on it. I remember sitting there at the babysitter's, like, it would just right away. So that was that. But then I really realized it when this one summer my brother, like, moved away to Chicago, and when I went out there, we were just watching movies all the time, and we were watching The Dream Team with Michael Keaton. I had a great crush on Michael Keaton, and so I went home and I watched this movie over and over all summer long, and I decided that I was going to write a story where I was Michael Keaton's daughter. So I wrote this 9-page story in this little composition notebook that I had from when I was in first grade, and I wrote the whole story out, and I handed it to my grandma. I was like, hey grandma, will you read my story? Sitting at the dinner table, my grandma's, like, you know, she's got her reading glasses on, she's reading the story and everything while she's eating, and I'm sitting across the table and I'm like, oh my god, she's not gonna like it. Oh god. My grandma loved it, and from that point on I was like, this is great. I can totally, like, make my own world, and I can be whoever I really want to be. And from there I just started writing, and I have briefcases upon briefcases of old stories. I even sent a very dear friend a whole folder of just Freddie things, like artifacts that only one person can have, and I felt like she should have it.
And who is Freddie?
Okay. So Freddie is the character I've had since I was 13. I created him in home ec class. He wasn't supposed to be the featured character in this story, but he was supposed to be the boyfriend of the featured character. But as I grew and evolved, he grew and evolved. So Freddie is this character who can see ghosts. He he sees ghosts, and he has nightmares, so he doesn't sleep a lot. And the thing is, he feels a lot of guilt because of the people that he knows who have died. Like, he feels like he should have, there's something that he should have been able to do, so he cuts himself. He's a cutter, and he sees ghosts. He has a lot of issues. And his best friend Ray comes around and like hangs out all the time. So you got Freddy and his best buddy Ray, who's dead. And I have all these things for Freddy. I have short stories. I'm working on the feature right now called Albatross. Very soon, next year, I'm hoping to shoot that. We just did a short film for it called Cross Lines. And like, there's all these things that I'm doing for him because I want him to be a cult character. Like, I have all these stories for Freddy, and because he himself is a character, I want him to be a cult character.
Awesome.
If that's a very long-winded way of explaining who Freddy is.
Well, I had to ask because you mentioned him, so I figured for the viewers, hey, who's Freddy? So
yeah, well, if you follow my Facebook, Endless Megan, on Facebook and everywhere, Google Endless Megan, you'll find me. I'll plug myself in there. You can follow my adventure writing Freddy. Like, he's my favorite character to write because he can see ghosts, and we go on wild adventures. I have a plan for future stories where I don't want to give away too much of what is going to happen with Freddy, but it's going to be very interesting, and it has a lot to do with him being able to see these ghosts. So, yeah.
And I can tell with how passionate you are about Freddy that you've really grown fond of him, and you've really connected to the character that you're writing about too. So.
Oh God, yeah.
Are there any other characters and other stories that you have evolved and have connected yourself to?
Not like Freddy. Like, the last feature script that I wrote, like, I love that script. It's called Space Cadet, and it's about a 16-year-old kid. He's a 16-year-old poor kid, and in this like trailer park area, he becomes a drug dealer in order to be able to take the girl of his dreams, a cheerleader, to the dance. And as I wrote that script, I loved it so much. I loved all the characters that I like built up around, but in the end, I grew more attached to the script than I did the characters. But it all comes down to Freddy and the people in that universe that I absolutely adore. Like, Ray's girlfriend, Missy, who is still alive, I adore her so much. Like, she's the coolest chick ever. Like, I pretend that she's based off me, but I'm not that cool, so.
And then one thing I always ask is, being a writer, there's obstacles that come along your way. Would you like to talk about some of those obstacles?
Okay, well, specifically as a writer, there's always writer's block, and the thing is, like, we writers are insane. And yeah, it's a very, very lonely life because like there are I do go out and like I work two wonderful jobs. wonderful jobs, in case my employers are watching this. The thing is, like, it's not an overnight success, and so that's what they don't tell you in film school. They didn't tell us that until the very end of film school, is that the reality is that you're not going to be a success right as soon as you walk out the door. Nobody tells you that you're going to go and you're going to get this crappy job that you're going to hate, where you're going to go and you're going to go back into customer service, and you're going to work and work and work for about 8 to 12 hours a day, and then if you're lucky you go home, and then you're going to write, and you're going to do this for years. So I work and work and work, and then it's like, oh man, but I so want to go out and do this and go hang out with these people. But you can go out and hang out with these people, or you can go home and you can write and work on, being a success. So it's like, there's that fine balance that you don't really ever find. And, it's lonely. Being out here 3,000 miles away from home, like November, in the middle of November, I hate November because I'm ready to go back and see my family. you know, and like my family is like so supportive of this, but I know that nobody really gets it. Like, I love my mom to death. She is the strongest woman I know, and she is like my number one supporter. But I know my mom, sometimes she's like, well, I wish that she would just go to college and get a 4-year degree and like go and like and not have to work these jobs anymore. But that's not what I'm about, and so few people really, really get it. And there's always that writer's block. You know, you sit here and you stare at the screen and it's like, you know you're good, you know where you're supposed to go, and like you can't find that place where you're supposed to go, you can't figure out how to get there. And so you'll sit and stare at the page and like you start to write and like, oh no, that sucks. And you'll do that for hours. And then you realize you just wasted like all this time doing this. But
And what are your hopes for your future? As a writer, what would be your ideal job?
to just write my own stuff. Honestly, like really honestly, though there are other stories that I want to write. I have one that I have a coming of age movie that I want to set in the 90s. If someone was like, you know what, we're gonna pay your rent so that you can write Freddy, I would be okay with that. I would be totally okay with writing Freddy for the rest of my life. But to piggyback on that, I do have hopes and dreams for the future, but the thing is, I know I'm going to be successful. It's just a matter of when. Like, I can feel it.
And that's awesome. That's the inner inspiration within you.
Yes.
Definitely keep believing and keep doing it. Go after it, because it makes life more fun. Thanks for sharing your story, Meghan, and check us out on Crown Rebellion.